Hi, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwao. Coming up tonight, we speak exclusively to retiring Tullow Oil boss, Aboagye-Wiafe. Also coming up this evening, Gutta wants government to set up revolving fund to support SMEs after COVID-19. And we continue our series on businesses hardest hit by COVID-19. We turn our attention to egg and cocoa farmers. And we've got details coming up. Do stay tuned. For well over 2 years, he has managed one of the biggest oil and gas firms operating in Ghana. Now, Aboagye-Wiafe says it's time to bow out. Tullow Ghana today announced that its managing director and executive vice president of Tullow Oil PLC, Aboagye-Wiafe, will be retiring from the company on the 30th of June. Mr. Wiafe will hand over his responsibilities to Wissam Al-Munthiri, who has spent 17 years with BP in various upward operations, leadership and asset management positions around the world. Well, joining us to talk about his time at Tullow is Mr. Aboagye-Wiafe. Great to see you, sir. Congratulations on the remarkable feat you have chalked at Tullow Ghana since you took over as MD. What's it been like being at the helm of affairs at Tullow?
It's been a good experience. You know, the oil and gas business is really a fast-paced, high-intensity. There's a lot of focus on safety because of all the potential opportunities for things to go wrong in the high seas. We have a young workforce because the oil and gas industry is young in Ghana as well. And then we also have a multinational workforce because that is also the nature of the oil and gas industry. We have a management team has come from England, from Singapore, from Malaysia, India, all over the place. So it's a multinational workforce. It's fast-paced. The stakes are high, and the need for a safe environment is paramount. So there's a lot of pressure to perform, to deliver all the time.
And what would you say were some of the great accomplishments you attained there at Tullow?
I think there are a number of things we did. From a production point of view, we did meet a number of challenges a couple of years back. We really changed the team over the last 12 months, and we're seeing the fruits of the new operations team. You see that this year in particular, we have a very stable production. We're meeting our guidance. You can imagine these things don't happen with a flick of a switch, and they've been 9 to 12 months in making this happen. So that's an important area. We did also a lot of training during the last couple of years, especially our line managers, empowering our managers and our staff, because that's really the key to success. And we also spent quite a bit of time looking at our local content initiatives and making sure that we were making an impact in that area. Of course, you can never do enough, and there are always challenges, but I think these were areas that we spent quite a bit of time and focus on during the time I've been here. Of course, last thing I'd say is we did chalk 50 million barrels up from 10 in my time, and that was a great feat for us.
In May last year, you were appointed EVP, Executive Vice President of Tullow Oil PLC, the first Ghanaian to be in that position. Was that the highlight of your time there?
Well, it was a great achievement from my point of view, and I think it was also great recognition from the company because the company basically understood and recognized that the Ghana business had to be at the executive table. So yes, it was a very high point.
Previously, you were talking about some challenges while you were there. What were some of the challenges you had to deal with?
Well, you know, currently the oil industry is going through some crisis in terms of the oil price. It's been at an all-time, a 20-year low. It's slowly climbing up above $30 this week. All of that is fairly recent. I think 6 months ago, we had some huge changes in the leadership. Our CEO, our head of exploration, and a number of our executive vice presidents also left. And some of that was just a culmination of many things that had happened over the course of time within the company and not just in Ghana. And so we've had to grapple with a lot of those. We've had to have let some people go over that period of time. And that's always difficult. I think the challenge today with the oil price where it is to make sure that the company survives and is liquid throughout the period.
Well, while we talk about challenges, let's talk about COVID-19, because it's one of the current challenges the oil and gas industry has had to deal with, is dealing a blow to oil markets around the world. How do you anticipate this would affect the fortunes of the oil and gas industry here in Ghana?
Well, it already has, hasn't it? I mean, the immediate impact of COVID is that it's brought down demand for global oil significantly. By some measures, at least 10 million barrels a day. The airlines aren't traveling. You know, a lot of reduction in even just car transportation. So we're already seeing that in terms of the price of oil globally, and that affects us. It means the revenues coming in for Tullow, the revenues coming in for the Ghana government have been low. In terms of the actual day-to-day operation, what we have had to do is make sure that we have a pipeline of making sure that our workers coming in offshore, coming in from abroad, can come in safely and reliably. We've been observing, first of all, we've been able to arrange with the government support charter flights to come in every 2 weeks to bring in our offshore workers. We're observing the quarantine requirements of government, so they come in for 14 days. We do a lot of testing before they come, when they come, after they come. And we're really pleased to say that so far there have been no incidents of test cases of COVID in the workforce, which also means that production has not been affected. And that's because of a lot of the checks that we put in place.
And well, aside from the impact of COVID-19, are you excited about how far the country's oil and gas industry has come? What can we do better? You know, Tullow has played an important role in our quest to commercialize oil and gas.
You know, when you think about it, the industry is really quite young in Ghana. This is the 10th year of commercial production. And that's not a long time when you look across to Nigeria, our neighbors. They've been doing it for 60 years. Even folks like Equatorial Guinea, they've been doing it for 30 plus years. So we've actually come quite a long way in terms of building really a brand new industry in a short period of time. You know, I like to believe that we can do a lot more. Last year, we opened up a bid round. We got some new investors trying to come in. And really the hope is that over the next 5 to 10 years, we can bring in more investment, more players, generate more production, and also expand the local industry. It doesn't help when the oil price is $30 a barrel, because very few firms can spend a lot of discretionary capital at those levels. But oil is cyclical, and one hopes is that even as it's gone down, it will slowly come back up, and then we can see some of these new investments coming in.
If anybody should ask you what is the biggest or the greatest legacy you're leaving behind, what would you say? And for people who are wondering, what next for you after Tullow?
So I think there are quite a few things that I'd like to believe I was a part of. I think one of the most important from a Tullow point of view, because I'm leaving and I'm handing over to somebody else, is we spent a lot of time over the last 12 months you know, working with government to make sure there was legislation in place to allow companies like Tullow, it was the case for Accra, to be able to explore areas that, because we had started production, were no longer available to us. And so that was evidenced in new legislation that was granted to Accra at the end of last year, but is also now available for Tullow, because we do have quite a number of areas within what we call our production area that we would like to exploit, we couldn't. But in addition to that, I like to believe we did, as I mentioned before, quite a lot of management training, empowering our workforce, trying to give opportunity to our young people, and I'm really quite proud of that. As just two things to mention. What's next? Stay tuned. When I know, I'll let you know as well.
Well, wish you all the best, Mr. Aboagye-Wiafe, and it's been great speaking with you tonight. All the best in your next endeavor.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. That was Aboagye-Wiafe, outgoing MD of TOIL Ghana. Now, over 100,000 eggs sit at the farm gates and various markets in the Ashanti region, getting rotten as an egg glut hits the country. The Ashanti region has the largest population of large-scale poultry farmers, numbering about 13. Now, COVID-19 is being blamed for the glut, and producers are appealing to government to pick them up. There's more in this report.
Ghana currently produces about 78 million birds, well, in the poultry industry. And guess what? Over 80% of these birds are layers. It means several eggs in the market in these COVID times. Here in this poultry farm, we have more than 40,000 crates of eggs right here. And that's about a week's production. Well, the birds cannot wait. Because of COVID times, it will mean that these farmers will have to find somewhere to send their eggs. And to the markets, they are not being picked.
We do have a problem because the market have been closed and the market women are not being allowed to sell their eggs. So it's causing us a huge problem.
What kind of problem?
Right now, for them to come for their eggs is a problem, and movements too is being restricted. Yeah.
So how many eggs do you have now? And ideally around these times, how many eggs would you have had?
We are having about 40,000 crates of eggs right now. And it's a big problem at this time. We are not able to sell them. Yep.
At first, how many eggs would you have had by now?
At least we will have about 4,000 eggs of trays per day.
And so these 40,000 eggs are like eggs that have piled up for how many days?
For a week now. Yeah.
So what's going to happen? How are you going to dispose of these eggs?
If things don't change, we have no option. We don't know how to dispose these eggs. For things to change. If things are to change, these eggs would have moved within a week. Yeah. Within a week, we will be able to dispose them off.
How is this affecting your cost of production? You were telling me that at first you were selling the eggs at a certain cost. You've reduced it. Tell us about that.
Because at first we thought the prices of the eggs were high. That's why we reduced it, but it's not the prices of the eggs. It's because of the market. Yeah. Right now the markets have been closed, that's why.
Well, the full report will air on Wednesday on AM Business at 7:15. Do make a date. Now, as the coronavirus takes its toll on global economies, cocoa farmers are making a case for Ghana to create local demand for industrial use of cocoa, so not to overly rely on international markets. Already, Chief Executive of Cocoa Board, Joseph Edu, has revealed the pandemic has disrupted global chain of cocoa production, saying this will slow the acquisition of $3.5 billion syndication loan for the 2020-2021 cocoa crop season. My colleague Charles Aite visited one of Ghana's largest cocoa farms to hear from the farmers there. This is Kobo Farms, a 45-hectare cocoa farm at Achimtafo in the eastern region. This farm will be harvesting 160 cartons of cocoa beans this crop season. But there is a problem. The novel coronavirus has led farmers here worried about the inability of their external buyers to engage in business. Samuel Tetekobo owns this cocoa farm. He won the 2019 International Cocoa Awards. He took me on a tour through his cocoa farm. For him, the novel coronavirus calls for an urgent relook into the creation of local markets for cocoa farmers.
This challenge is worldwide. And for me, that's why I feel hurt when I come to realize that Ghana doesn't have a proper warehouse for storage of these things. But this could be the time where we could properly store a lot of these beans. And again, begin our own local processing. If we are not even going to sell the beans, let's break them down into a second grade, seed that is broken down into a second grade quality, okay? So that instead of exporting the seed that nobody is ready to buy now, we crack the seeds. We try to, roast them and make them something that can last. Nobody knows how coronavirus is going to last anyway. But if we can break them down and get them in a semi-processed form, and then we can store them, this will become so marketable going forward.
So you walk into the shop. Okay. So you talk and you continue.
It is the season of, they call it a pruning season. You can see the leaves around. These are leaves that have been pruned to aid in air circulation across the cocoa farm. We get to interact more with the farmers. As you could see, they also check in most of the things around and check in most of the leaves. We get to interact with them, especially when it is a very crucial season for them in terms of pruning and the cultivation of seeds. Busily trimming the branches of his cocoa trees, Amos, another cocoa farmer, explains the extent to which COVID-19 has disrupted his income.
Yare COVID-19 ebae na aboye hu esan se cocoa eni ejuma yeye pa na mrofo nso enu na omudi ti vese na yare ni corona ya na ebisa ye hu se nti afi mpo no ebetimi ato ye cocoa ti enu na ye ai se aya adwen a ye adwene hu bebre wo yare hu ama skas ka hu ayede san se semre so emre akoko ensheda eni ho na kakra na ye titi no so no ye hu sika eni ho ma omo to no omo de abeto san se aban adwenyina wo yare hu ta sika ni ho ekuafo ebre.
For various cocoa farmers like that of Amos, the coronavirus is really having a toll on their line of duty. Yes, they are off-growers, but they are concerned about their livelihood, especially when the and even imports of cocoa beans across the country and around the world has been somewhat stalled, especially when coronavirus has hit hard on countries that have huge thirst for cocoa beans here in Ghana. Plunging cocoa bean prices are not only threatening revenues, of which Ghana has already lost $1 billion in the past month and a half, but also stalling the government's current syndication process for loan facilities for the 2020 and 2021 crop season. This strains Ghana's renewed commitment to improve refinement processes and guarantee that over 50% of domestically produced cocoa beans will be processed. While difficult to estimate future import or export sales, the pandemic more broadly is continuing to disrupt global supply chains and affecting manufacturing companies around the world, a sector that contributes up to 10% of Ghana's GDP in 2018. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business. Well, finally tonight, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, is proposing government sets up a revolving fund for businesses as an annual support for micro, small and medium enterprises in critical times. According to the president, Dr. Joseph Obeng, the small-scale sector needs more support in order to contribute effectively to the economy after COVID-19. He wants other stakeholders that may not benefit from the first disbursement to be considered in another package. He has also welcomed the 5% interest on the 600 million CD stimulus package.
I'm expecting that this thing should be a revolving fund, and that if we are able to redeem the first tranche of the fund, it should be a revolving fund. And if possible, if government gets extra funds, it will also go a long way to help us. Because even in this, you can see that government really did a wonderful work by creating this fund, because the revenue is not improving because of the situation that we find ourselves, and for government to be doing this and that, giving a whole lot of concessions in electricity, water, and other things, for government also to be able to bring this this fund, then it means they are doing what they can. But that's why I'm also saying that if it is possible, but whatever it is, the onus also lies on us to also work hard and to be able to redeem this fund so that it can be a revolving fund for us. Yeah, 5% for a stimulus package like this is very welcoming. And even if you look at the moratorium that has been given, and for 3 years to pay, it means that it's a good concession that government have done, and we appreciate the efforts of government. We had the opportunity to meet with MBSSI, and all the questions that we were seeking have been answered. And we are very grateful to MBSSI. They seem to know what they are doing, and we appreciate their efforts as well. We are presenting our list, and then our members have also been informed that they should be prepared for the disbursement process. And so soon after the launch, everything will roll out.
All right, and we're looking forward to the launch of that stimulus package by the president in the course of this week. That's it for Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. More news as always on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching.